I was born in Africa. I've got grandmother in Austria, so our family's been involved in biodynamic and organic winery, vineyards in Austria for 300 years. So I think I kind of have something in my blood, and my dad was the same as well. So was born in Africa, grew up in Africa, and we had a beautiful property. And probably by the age of 16, 17, I was dabbling in growing my own food and fruit trees on the property, well-established fruit trees. We had horses, we had animals, so we were literally surrounded by nature. We were immersed in it, really. And so probably at the age of 21, 22, I was quite focused on what was happening around the world, what was happening around people's diet and diseases. They just fascinated me. And at that stage, I turned vegan. So a young person turning vegan, did it amazingly well, and just had all my amino acids in one meal, had all my enzymes, and that pretty much, I would say, would have been my shifting point, because I didn't turn vegan for myself. I turned vegan because I was reading what was happening to our dairy cows. I was reading what was happening to our meat animals, the animals that are providing us with food. And I was learning some horrific facts about what happens to them being farmed, and being farmed at high scale. So I kind of looked at the whole scenario and thought, this isn't good enough. There's no ways that I'm going to be taking milk from a cow where her calf needs it, and I'm not going to be eating that pig that has been in a small crush for its whole life and hasn't seen sunshine. So none of that related very well with me anymore. So it was pretty much overnight, turned vegan, but at that stage I was running and owning restaurants in South Africa, so the two worlds kind of clashed a little bit. Yeah. And I did as much as I could, but I was already at that stage trying to, I guess, run food coaching classes. So I was in my early 20s doing that as well. And then went on to basically help open and run one of the first whole food emporiums, probably in Johannesburg at the time. So we made everything in our kitchens. It was a massive kitchen. We baked, we ground, we just pretty much made everything from scratch, and then put it out into this beautiful restaurant. So it was quite a new way of thinking, especially in Africa, because it is such a meat-consuming society. Nice. And it was a really intense thing for a young person to go into, because I was so passionate about it. And then because we had such beautiful land and we had so many animals that were providing us with this great compost, and my dad was this amazing compost maker, and it was his pride and joy, and that's where he would go. That was his dark cave, right? It was his compost heap. And we would all go around and he would say, come on, stick your fingers in the compost heap and see how hot it is. And it would be like, my God, this place is just as roasting. And so it was just like, you just grew up with it. And so then I looked at our land, and it was pretty much virgin soil. Hadn't had fertilizers, sprays, chemicals on, hadn't been run by a cattle farmer or anything like that. So literally for me it was pretty much a matter of just building the soil up, and within no time I had this thriving little organic, biodynamic medicinal herb business going. I was supplying herbs to health shops and restaurants, so I was small scale. I didn't go overboard just with one crop. I would just create a whole diversion of crops, and it was basically through learning about permaculture as well, and the biodynamic diversity of the soil that helped build it up. So
at this point then, because you were then aware that animals needed to be present to produce the compost, were you still vegan?
So at this stage, I was still vegan. I was vegan for 7 years. Okay. And then my body started to change. So in those formative years, in the early 20s, I probably wouldn't recommend for somebody to turn vegan, because your body is actually still growing. Your hormones are still being produced. Your bones are still setting down bone. And I just, towards the end of 7 years, I wasn't feeling 100% well. And I was eating so well. Like, it was just brilliant, the way we were eating. But it didn't do quite well. So yes, I went back and I started eating wild fish again, and now I bring in some, it's always organic and organically farmed animals, preferably from the small scale grower, excuse me, that looks after his animals. You know, the animals need to be out in the sunshine, they need to be getting their vitamin D and converting it in their gut into nutrients that we can take up. And that's what I'm teaching now. Yes, you know, you don't have to be vegan, you don't have to be a meat eater, or you can be whatever you want to be, but it's how do we consciously now move forward in the way we grow our food, in the way we grow our animals, and how are they treated. I think that it's massive.